Welcome, everybody, to The Vibe. My name is Yvonne Myles, and I'm the founder of Vibrantly Living You. This is a health and wellness coaching movement that is absolutely dedicated to helping you claim health so vibrant, it's as though you are aging backwards. So, for most of this year, we have been exploring the concept of health through the lens of the chakra system, or you can think of it as more of a blueprint to guide you into health by diagnosing what's maybe not going so well, and then having more options at your disposal. We have been doing this by drawing a direct line of sight between the energy body, which is what your chakra is all about, right? You can't really put your finger on the chakra system, but it exists around you and within you. So we've been drawing that direct line of sight between the chakra system and then the behaviors, the habits, the mindset that you bring to the table so that you can make the adjustments that you may need. We started this fascinating journey by focusing first on the root chakra. The root chakra, or chakra number one of the seven major chakras. And that caused us to think about, well, what is affecting our sense of groundedness, our safety, and our security? And then what can we tweak in order to bring about a deeper sense of that? And then for the sacral chakra, or the second, as we were moving up, we focused on identity and body image and what could affect that in our thoughts and in our behaviors, our food choices. For the third chakra, the solar plexus, especially because of its location right there in the middle of the body around the digestive system, it was about focus, intention, and a lot about nutrition and our food choices. For the fourth chakra, one of my favorites, the heart chakra, it was all about self-compassion and self-love, as well as compassion for others and how we treat ourselves, a little bit more about self-care. Then for the throat chakra, we started to move more into somewhat of the more spiritual chakras. The other chakras being much more focused on the physical body. So now we're starting to deal with topics around self-expression and authenticity, and whether or not we're blocking our true voices. Because when you block energy, then that's what leads to illness and disease. And we don't want that. That's the opposite of vibrant health. So then that led us to the sixth chakra, and or also known as the third eye, or the brow chakra. And that caused us to start turning inward and focusing on intuition and insight and learning to trust our inner voices, because oftentimes our inner voice will be telling us what we need to move ourselves into a greater sense of health and of happiness and joy. So we want to get used to listening to that inner voice. And we had a wonderful guest that week who led us through a meditation that I've been using, and it's really made an impact in the direction of my life just within the last few weeks or so. So that can be the absolute power of focusing on the chakras. And so now, as we are completing our journey, we have arrived finally, at long last, at the seventh of chakra, the seventh of the major chakras, also known as the crown chakra. The crown chakra speaks to self-awareness and realization and connection to our higher selves. And if you choose to refer to it in that way, connection to the divine. And what I love about this chakra is that not only does it exist in and of itself as a reminder to remain connected above, but also connected to what is below. In other words, it is a pathway for us to, yes, move upward into our higher selves, but then also stay grounded back into the root chakra, into our connection to the earth. So, if you know anything about yoga, then no wonder that it would be the very perfect way to get in tune with the crown chakra and indeed all of the chakras. It is, of course, this practice of yoga. And to that end, I am deeply, deeply honored to bring this incredibly compassionate, dedicated, and highly experienced yoga teacher here today so that we can learn more about the crown chakra and how we might be able to tap into it and let it reveal its wisdom to us. Her name is Jessica Garcia, and I'm so pleased to say that she's my yoga guru, and I'm going to bring her on. And let me see, here she is. Jessica, hello, hello, hello. And you see, we also have a couple of other people here with us. Let me just very quickly tell you about Jessica. Jessica has been teaching Hatha Yoga for 11 years. It seems like so much more, let me tell you, when I'm with her. And she strives to make every class accessible for everybody. Her passion in life is to share the healing aspects of yoga with as many people as she can, both in person and online. So, hello, Jessica. Go ahead
Hi,
and unmute you.
Yvonne. Thanks for
Hello.
having me on. I'm so excited to be here.
You know, it's really odd from the moment that I came up with this idea of focusing on the chakra system. One of the first people I wanted on was you, but I just kept saying, well, maybe the time's not right. This doesn't feel like the right connection. And then finally, here we were. We even talked about bringing you on to talk about the excuse me, the third eye chakra, and things shifted, and then it just worked out perfectly for the crown chakra because I just think it's wonderful synchronicity. So thanks again. Let's if you wouldn't mind telling us, Jessica, what led you into yoga?
Hmm. Well, I think that's a great question because I love to share what brought me to yoga because for everybody, we have a unique reason why we've been drawn to yoga and why we stay practicing yoga. And for me, it was my anxiety that I dealt with as a young adult. And a friend of mine had suggested yoga, and I didn't know much about it at that time. So I tried out a class, and at the end of the class, the peace that I felt, the calmness that I felt was what I was missing in my life and what has helped me to combat that anxiety that I was dealing with and that oftentimes comes up because of different things in life. And so I did practice yoga for 6 years before I decided I wanted to teach yoga. And that same friend asked me, what is it that would make you happy as far as, work? Because I wasn't happy where I was at the time. And right away, it was teach yoga. Ever since I was a young kid, I had this draw to help people. It just was within me to want to help in any way I could. And when I, had that question asked to me, it just immediately clicked. It's like, okay, this is what I want to share with people. This is how I want to help. So, being able to share those beautiful benefits that I've been able to cultivate throughout my practice and continue to grow and cultivate through my own practice and through teaching is just something that, yeah, I'd love to share as far and wide as I can, whether it's online, in person, at the beach, at a retreat. It's just something that I feel we all need right now. And I think a lot of times when I share my story about my anxiety, it really resonates with people. I've been able to control my anxiety attacks with pranayama, which is an aspect of yoga that we work on, especially in my classes. And so that's why I try to bring that focus in at the beginning of class, because oftentimes we are scattered and, we're just feeling this emotional, overwhelming feelings of anxiety and all this stuff because we are on the go all the time. So that breath is so helpful. And that's what I felt, was really something that assisted, a tool that I learned from yoga and then continue to use. So I would say, in a nutshell, my anxiety is what brought me to yoga.
Well, thank you for giving us more than a nutshell in that response. I find it fascinating that, in a sense, we began this journey through the chakras when we started with the root chakra. The primary, if there's a common thread through all of the chakras and the benefit that is derived when you focus on them, it has been controlling anxiety and stress. So it was like we started this journey with the stress, and we're coming around, completing the circle because of stress and anxiety. So every one of the chakras has a some element associated with it. Like for the root chakra, it's earth. The element is earth, and for the heart chakra, I believe it's air. And the similar, and for the throat chakra, it's vibration or sound. For the crown chakra, it's thought. It's thought, which is so intangible. And so how can we connect if the crown chakra is around thought, then how does that actually refer back to the body? How can we think about the body through the crown chakra?
Yeah, so in my studies of the element of the crown chakra of thought, I came along the element of ether. So for me, that's more of how I connect to it. But in speaking of it as thought, if you think about how we can go past space and time when we are in our thoughts, because we can think about the past, we can think about the future, and we can think about the present, and we can also think about the future. So we're, going past that space and time because we're able to take ourselves there. If you think about when you are remembering a time that was really exciting or happy, your body actually changes, right? You feel these happy emotions, and vice versa. When you're thinking about something sad, something that you went through that was really difficult, your body feels those sad emotions, right? And that physically affects us just by thinking about it. So the element of thought, is really powerful when we come to our practice, because those thoughts can affect us through our practice. But as we work with those thoughts in our practice, then we learn to take it off of our mat and into our daily lives so that we can work with those thoughts. And usually the negative thoughts are the ones we need to work on, right? To help us to manifest those things that we're trying to do in this life. And I'll share a little bit about how I've overcome that later. But when we are thinking of those negative things, it can affect our body in lots of ways. So the muscles get really tight when we have these stress hormones moving through us, the cortisol, the adrenaline, all these things that come up in us, they flood our bodies. The muscles get tight, the tissues in the body get tight, and we're feeling almost like stuck, right? And closed off, disconnected. And we kind of get stuck in this thought, right? This mind. And when we're able to come out of that, and that's working through the crown chakra and focusing on it, and we think about all the interconnectedness, the divine energy, the cosmic energy, and how we are all connected versus just thinking about our one self, right? When we're thinking about just us, oftentimes we can get lost and stuck. And so when we start bringing that thought process or that connection to the wider perspective, right? And it's often said that the crown chakra is hovering above our head. It's not actually right here at the top. So that is all connected to everything around us, whether it's people, the air, the earth, the cosmos, the stars, we're all connected to that. And so when we're working with those thoughts and feeling those things in our body and working through physical, you know, asanas, which are the postures that we do in yoga, and with our meditation and our pranayama, it allows us to release some of those thoughts that affect us in a negative way, right? In a way that holds us back. It keeps us from being our most vibrant self, which I love that word that you have within your I'm not sure what you would call this, your group, your business. What do you call your vibrant
My community, in my
community?
community,
I,
yes.
I just love that word. So yeah, I'll bring it back to that when we're able to work with that and really work through those thoughts and be able to connect through that crown chakra, feel that alignment, then we can feel really vibrant and connected. And that takes some time. I mean, it's I was sharing with you before, it's not something that happens, with one sitting of meditation. It's many sessions and
Mm.
much practice.
Yes, and confidence in the process, in the growth that you're experiencing. I just have to say, on a very personal note, it astounds me how often the topic that is at hand is exactly directing me toward the healing that I need. And so, as recently as this morning, I found myself just feeling very disconnected, very just disconnected well, overwhelmed would be a good way. Over because I let myself get involved in lots of different projects, and I was just feeling overwhelmed. And because of that, I was also feeling very stuck. And because of that, I wasn't breathing very well. And my remedy for that was to start shaking my body. I just started very, not just standing here shaking, but just absolutely up and down, up and down, up and down, which got my circulation going, which got me breathing much more deeply. And then suddenly my perspective changed. I suddenly started to feel very connected to everything else and very excited about getting here and connecting with you and then seeing this as the connection to everything else. So I can speak very personally from just this morning to everything that you just said. As you were saying those words, I was writing down these notes. It was like, oh, I had that thought, and then it came out of your mouth. It's just it's
uh,
just
Beautiful.
astounding to me. So I've always been curious about this. I have studied yoga for a number of years and then I went away from it. And you call yourself a Chandra yoga teacher. Can you tell us what is Chandra? How's it different? What does it mean?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people have that same question. Just pulling up my notes because I want to make sure I share everything. Chandra Yoga is actually just the name that I came up with for my group, my tribe, I would like to say. But Chandra actually means moon in Sanskrit. And I've always been drawn to the moon, even as a young kid. And it's the moon that, kind of inspires me. And if you think about all the phases of the moon, it's ever changing, right? It's never just one thing. It's just always moving. And it's just like us. We're always changing, always growing. Everything is temporary, right? And it's very inspiring to me because it's it's that thought of this is going to last forever that kind of gets us stuck sometimes, right? If we're dealing with something that's really difficult, like if we remember this is just temporary, it's just a phase in life, like a phase of the moon, it really helps us to be able to deal with it and know, okay, I can hang on for a little bit longer before I move into the next phase. So that's Chandra. But at Chandra, as you had stated at the beginning, I like to make the practice accessible to everybody. So what makes Chandra yoga or, our practice different is that I strive to get to know each of my students individually so that I can give them the tools that they need, give them the variations of the poses that work for them, and make it a practice that can touch them on their personal level. I think it's so important to do that because we are all unique people. We've had different experiences. We go through different things in our daily lives, and we may be an avid runner. We may be somebody that sits a long time, at work all day. All those different um, parts of who we are makes what we need in yoga different. So in at Chandra Yoga, I strive to do that, is finding that perfect balance of, you know, support, of the pushing, right? Encouragement, and also acceptance of that person, of where they're at, and never any judgment.
Mm.
That's the
And
fun.
that is just a really beautiful way. From the moment I stepped into your yoga class, I felt so seen and so nurtured. And I'm just going to ask Julie and Lydia if if you want to drop some love for Jessica into the chat, feel free to do that if you experience that, or if you have something that you want to say. Certainly, you can unmute yourself and add that in there. Um, yeah, so what is it that you tell your students about the crown chakra in particular?
So for the crown chakra, it's something that we work on throughout our yoga practice. And I say that because yoga originally was created to get into the meditative state, right? Yoga was not created to be, the best looking or best fit person, right? It's not created for that. It was created to release the tightness within our physical body, unblock the chakras, the energetic body, and get our bodies and minds and spirits into this meditative state. So oftentimes in my classes, it's more of sharing that what we're doing throughout the class with pranayama, with the asanas, and at the end with our shavasana, where we're in a more of a meditative state, that's allowing us to tap into the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is that connection with our higher being, right? And it looks different for everybody, I believe. And this is the connection with cosmic energy, with the divine energy, with the spiritual realm. And that spiritual realm sometimes consists of God for some people, of angels. And so I like to really, again, make it personal to everybody. And so I really try to have this broad idea of the crown chakra, because it really is something that is more holistic and encompassing, and and everybody can be able to tap into that in their own way, own unique way. So yeah, when we're doing the meditations, and especially at the end when we come back into the lotus pose or padmasana, that's when we've gone through the whole practice, and where I really have people come back to their bodies and minds and see, now what do we feel like, right? Versus at the beginning of practice, because that's where we're feeling more relaxed, more connected, more at ease and at peace. And that's when we can start, tapping into that crown chakra, which allows us to feel interconnected. And we really are interconnected. They talk about the butterfly effect, how one thing that happens at one side of the world affects the other, right? We are so connected. Oh, Julie, I love that your focus tomorrow is connection, so I'm glad this is speaking to you as well. So yeah, I mean, when we're working through our yoga practice, it really is about getting to that alignment where the crown chakra can be open and vibrant.
Yeah. And Julie, thank you also for that little bit of love that you're sending to Jessica. I wholeheartedly agree. Julie says Jessica is the most empathetic yoga teacher. I feel the connection with her even during online sessions. It's so powerful.
Thank
And I
you.
have to say, Saturday mornings, and I used to be a teacher of Nia on Saturday mornings. That was my gig, and I gave it up so that I could come to your online yoga class, and I miss it very reluctantly. I prioritize it, and it's for that reason. There have been times I've gotten up from the mat where I just feel so alive and so in my body. And to your point, this is after we've done an hour and 15 minutes of certainly of breath, with meditation, but of working the body and the skeleton and the connective tissues and all of that, everything that we also love and deal with in Nia. And yet you're bringing even more mindfulness to it and ultimately connecting it to the crown chakra. It's such a yeah, you just do it. You do it brilliantly. Ay, 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 ay. I may have answered this next question for you, but how do you describe the crown chakra's relationship to radiant health, to vibrant health?
Yeah, I think we tapped on that in the last question. And when we're able to feel that connection, because I think as a human being, right, if we think back to our ancestors and how we were built for community, like we used to live more in community, in connection with each other, with the land, with all of the elements. When we're able to connect with the crown chakra, it's allowing us to be more aware of that connection that we have with everything, that we are truly, truly interconnected. And so when we get to that point of understanding of that mindfulness, then it allows us to feel that vibrancy, because it's no longer just about me, just about, the person right here, right now. This is about everybody, right? And when you can feel that connection, it's, to me, it's a more encompassing and fulfilling a life. And it really supports you in ways that we as human beings need it. So I feel like this is this tapping into the crown chakra and aligning with those ideas of the crown chakra does help you to be more vibrant within your mind, within your body, and your spirit.
Mm, well said. There's the theme there is it's connection, but then also unity, that feeling of oneness. It's not just me, my little self anymore. It is that connection, that sense of being unified with the others. Whether that's the others in the online community, the others in the studio, the others in your family, your community, whatever. So it is that ultimate sense of unity and connection. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. Yeah. I was going to ask you, but now I just decided, I mean, we've been talking around this and around this. I was going to ask you exactly how does yoga create that connection?
With yoga, we create connection on many different levels, and it's through the mindfulness that we're cultivating in our practice. We connect with our breath, which so often we're not aware of, right? You talked about this earlier, how you felt overwhelmed this morning and you were feeling tight and you realized you weren't taking those deep breaths. In yoga, we do connect with the breath and we become aware of it. And not only do we become aware of it, but we learn how to use it as a tool to assist us. Then we connect with our physical body through mindfulness and movement. So oftentimes when we're moving, we move the arms or the body, with our breath. And so we're connecting the breath with the body. And so that's another way connection occurs in yoga. And we connect with our thoughts as we observe them throughout our practice and learn to work with them. So sometimes, I'll talk about in during class how thoughts will come up in our minds about what's going on in the pose. Maybe it's a limiting thought. Maybe it's just a thought about your day and it's not allowing you to be present. So yoga really allows you to, or encourages you to be present. And when we're present and connected, then we're allowed to enjoy the moment in a more holistic and full way, right? So we're able to really get more out of it versus being kind of here, but not really. Are you feeling that disconnection? And so we'll only get part of what you can really receive those benefits from yoga. And we connect with others, um, or when we connect with others, we become aware that we are connected not only by our breath, but the earth that we walk on and all the resources that we share, right? We're all connected through those things. So yoga really allows us to bring that to mind. And that again is part of why yoga was created, is to get into that meditative state, to feel that connection, to feel that peace, and to share it with all. So
All right, it is time for us to draw this episode of The Vibe to a close. I hope everybody who's catching this replay and has enjoyed the extra lengthening, the extra time to connect during this. I just want to say one more heartfelt thanks and namaste to my guru, Jessica Garcia. I learn from you every single time I am in your presence. Today was no different, no different. You're a
thank you,
gift.
Yvonne, for having me on and trusting me to share with your many, participants and in your beautiful community. The work that you're doing is so needed and so important. So thank you so much for what you do.
Received. Received. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week. Remember, a vibrant life is yours for the taking.